And this is when like, I think one of the most beautiful parts of the story started. My wife is on social media, and she had posted everything that was going on, and people had been responding kind of from all over, like German short-haired pointer clubs were like, we're going to send people to look for and arrest. I mean, like all these people started to respond, and we were sitting there and we got a knock on the door, which I assumed it would be the vet coming to talk to us. And we opened the door and it was this young woman who neither Lindsay and I had ever met before. And she just said, I'm Morgan. My name is Morgan. And I've been talking to you on Instagram. And I just drove all the way from, I don't even remember where she lived, 2 hours away. She's like, I saw where you guys were headed. I knew you were coming here. I just want to let you know, I've been praying for y'all. We've already set up an account at the front desk to help pay for all the bills. I mean, it was just like, yeah, to see this community start to form was incredible.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. Know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the clip out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 239. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. We are back.
Happy New Year.
Hello.
Hi.
I guess if they listen day one, it won't be a new year yet.
Yeah, I don't know that they will because
people probably won't be driving to work.
I hope not on New Year's Eve. I mean, some people will because it's just unavoidable.
Yeah, depending on your job.
I hope people are having fun.
That'd be nice.
People are having fun. And I also hope that everybody has a better 2022.
Yes.
Yeah. Including Peloton.
Especially Peloton. So, well, maybe not especially. There are certainly people that deserve it more than Peloton.
Yeah.
They still got their mansions and stuff. They'll be okay.
Right.
But yeah, so, the holidays were good.
Yes.
And I'm trying to think what all we did. Christmas Eve was a little bit of a blur for me.
Oh, was it? Huh? That's shocking.
Drinking at this new weight.
You are now a lightweight. Congratulations.
Yeah. My Irish heritage didn't offset the weight loss.
Tom LaBelle, if you're out there listening, he can no longer drink the Fireball the way he once could.
Yes, I can drink it. It's not like I was. So, but enough of that. What do you have in store for people?
Well, we have a special guest joining us today. Mm-hmm. Bill/William Sinecki is joining us, and John Mills, and we are going to talk about the stock,
right.
Peloton stock, wrap up for 2021. What 2022 is going to look like. We have a visit from Dr. Jen. She talks about balancing fitness challenges and family through the holidays. And we also talk to Angelo at MetPro. And then we have all kinds of stuff happening here. Peloton Prophet drops by. We have a bunch of Instructor updates, lots and lots of good stuff.
Awesome. Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. And if you would be so kind as to leave a review, that's helpful.
Yes.
If you're a Spotify listener, you can now rate podcasts on Spotify. So if you want to swing by and give us a rating on Spotify, that probably can't hurt to bring us to Spotify's attention.
Yes, please.
So, and we have a new review.
Ooh.
This is from Queen of Cardio, and it says, entertaining and informative. Great podcast for anyone who loves Peloton and the fitness industry. Tom and Crystal have amazing chemistry, obvious because they're married. Well, we were both married previously, and the chemistry wasn't so obviously amazing there.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It's second time is the charm.
Yes, at least for us.
Yeah. Can't speak for anybody else.
Yeah, and I enjoy all the guests that they have as well. So, well, thank you very much for the nice review.
That is a really nice review.
Yes, and also we have a Facebook page if you want to stay up to date on things throughout the week. Facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and you can also watch all of these episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/theclipout. And I know we throw a lot of stuff at you in an episode. Maybe you're driving in your car or doing something else and you don't get the focus and you want to find those links. Sign up for the newsletter.
Yes.
At theclipout.com.
Because everything will come to you easily. It'll be so easy.
And just be right there, all the links, and you don't have to go hunting through old Facebook posts or Instagram posts looking for it.
Yes.
So there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
Run, lift, and live with John Mills.
So joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube, it's John Mills. Hey, John, how's it going?
Going.
All right.
Going. Ready to go.
Are you ready? Are you ready for 2022? Are you ready?
I don't know. I've been taking these stretching classes.
Yeah.
Do you know when the professional people stretch you, you get all dehydrated? I don't know why, but now I'm drinking water.
Because it pulls all the toxins out of your body, man.
Toxins?
Is that what it is?
Yes, it is. That's why they tell you to you're supposed to drink like a ton. You're supposed to overhydrate before you get a massage because like a massage or stretch because they're manipulating the muscles and it squeezes all the icky out of there. I'm sure there's medical terms, but
well, I must have had a whole bunch of icky because I've been drinking water ever since I left. I got lots of icky, I guess.
I feel like anybody who does any kind of sports massage is probably yelling at us right now. So sorry for saying all of the wrong terms.
All right. I like that term.
The icky.
Icky out.
But people know what you mean. So we have a guest joining us this week.
Special guest.
It's Bill Sinecki, and he's been featured on Dumb Money Live and in the New York Times. He's a military officer who fell in love with Peloton so much that he started buying stock and turned 20 grand into over $1 million. I don't know if that's still true.
We'll get there.
But hi, Bill.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Welcome to our little motley crew here. We thought that this would be a great opportunity to kind of talk through a little bit of what's happened in 2021 and talk about what's going to happen in 2022. So yeah, how's the million going? How'd that go this year?
Well, we don't have to talk about money. Let's just say I don't feel like $1 million
Okay,
anymore.
That's fair.
Yeah. So just a little background. Yeah, 20K into a little over 1.2 million, and it wasn't all on Peloton, mind you. It was a bunch of other stocks, and then when Peloton fell below 100, I went in hard and on margin too. So yeah, we're talking 1.2 million, probably back down to 100 grand.
Oof.
So we're still in the green.
Okay.
Okay. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
You move the ball forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
He looked at it better than me. I was balled up in a corner crying with a teddy bear. But see, he's all good.
Here's the thing, John. This right now at these levels, this is an asymmetric bet. There is so much more upside than there is downside.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Tell me in regular people talk. Why do you say asymmetric bet?
Because the chance of the stock declining is far smaller than the potential upside.
I keep saying that to myself every day, and then every day I get a new alert that says Peloton just dropped another 52-week low. What the hell?
Well, here's a famous quote too: "The markets can stay irrational longer than we can stay solvent." So right now we're going through a period of irrationality.
I like that.
And I think the bear and bull case, both have merit. As much as us bulls don't want to admit, both cases have merit. And as I said earlier, stocks overshoot to the downside just as they overshoot to the upside. And that's why we're seeing this irrational behavior. Right now, Peloton is priced at 2.5 times sales. It is honestly priced as a bike with an iPad and nothing more. We're talking decelerating growth, churn increasing meaningfully, and that at-home fitness cannot be hybrid. That's what the market is pricing Peloton as. And oh, by the way, right now we're seeing the opportunity for people to do tax loss harvesting. So they're selling their Peloton in December because they've had such a great year, unlike me and Mr. John Mills. They're having such a great year. They want to write off these gains with their losses. So it's institutions, it's retail traders, everyone's selling Peloton before 2022 so they can get that tax break.
What? So wait a minute. Okay, so when I hear that, I hear that that's like falsely making it worse until January. Is that what you're saying? That because they need something from it, that like they're all making the same choices, and so then because they're all making the same choices, that means that the stock will be shitty longer. Am I hearing that right?
No, because they want to get their losses. They want to take their losses in 2021. So come April 2022, they don't have to pay as much in capital gains tax because they sold their Peloton. You can't realize your losses until you sell an equity. So
you're saying that in the short term, your feeling is that it's artificially pushing the price down so they can take a write off for 2020.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. I just didn't say it well.
I knew what you meant, but I'm married to you.
I appreciate you.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was intending to do the same thing, but I wasn't equating it to, well, wait a minute, everybody's doing that. So of course it would artificially kind of bring the price. I wasn't equating that second piece.
Yeah.
But I was intending to do that. Right.
Yeah. Well,
so that's interesting.
These firms, they don't have the luxury like us where we can be long-term investors. They need to show results for their clients every quarter, right? And that puts them at a disadvantage. And right now, no big firm wants to show Peloton in their holdings, right? They're embarrassed. Right. They're embarrassed because the bears have took control, right? Like, why? And here's the question too. When we were at $171 a share, where were all the bears then? Right. They weren't to be found. And that would have been the best time to short the stock or buy puts on it. And now that it's down 80%, now everyone wants to short it. I'm sorry, guys, but you're late to the fight.
Right.
Well, it seems like they just changed their mind weekly to make it sound good. Like they always knew what they were talking about. I feel like they do that every week.
Well, and a lot of these firms too, they probably have, they're probably long, but they probably have a lot of short positions on it too. And they probably sold at $50 to get that tax loss. Now, when you sell for a loss, you have to wait 30 days before you can buy back in, so you won't get hit with a wash sale. So if these firms sold at $50, it's in their best interest to keep driving the stock down. So when they get back in after that wash sale expires, they can get in at a lower price. And I think that makes a lot of sense. These firms are not looking out for our best interest. Think about CNN and Fox News. Are they looking out for our best interest? No. They want to get ratings. They want to get eyeballs. Same thing here with the firms, except they're actually making a lot more money by misleading us retail investors.
Now, I got a question. So I recognize that, a lot of that is at play. And I recognize that the markets are emotional, and there's been a lot of stuff and news that's come out to kind of create this environment. But there are also like just factual things that may just be at play. It may just be that 2020 was just a year that, the pandemic was here. We didn't have a vaccine until November, December. And there was just explosive growth it's just something that you're not going to always see. And so, of course, 2021 was going to have some form of pullback. And then you add to that some mishaps and some stumbles to kind of just help it pull itself down. And now you've got inflation, and you got interest rates going up next year. Aren't there just elements here also that I understand trading at 2x sale is they've gone too far, but aren't there elements to this that are just, it is what it is?
John, great question. Let's just simplify this right now. I'm going to get into the bear case, but let's just simplify the bull case right now. Right now, Peloton is only 15 to 16% above its IPO price in September 2019. That was 6 months prior to COVID. So pre-COVID, during that time, Peloton was only doing $915 million in revenue. They had 511,000 connected fitness subs and only 102,000 digital subs. So today, fast forward today, mind you, we're only up 15% from that time. But right now we have $4 billion in revenue. That's 4 times higher than IPO. We have 2.33 million subscribers. That's 4 times higher than IPO again. We have 874,000 digital subscribers. That's 8 times higher than IPO. So all that combined, we're only 16% higher. I understand pulled forward demand, but this isn't pulled forward demand like General Motors selling a bunch of cars, because once they sell a car, you don't need another car. Once you sell a Peloton, you're still realizing revenue every single month.
That's what's always mystified me about the naysayers is when they're like, oh, they're not selling as many as they used to. And I'm like, okay, but it's not like everybody just wheeled the bike to the curb and washed their hands of it. You still have acquired all of those customers.
Exactly.
Yeah. The bike right now is turning into a loss leader, right? We used to make, and this is what kills me when we talk about, I love Foley. Don't get me wrong, I love Foley. But the bike now is a loss leader. We were hitting 50% gross margins at the beginning when it was selling for $2,200-$2,300. Now we're hitting around 12% gross margins, which is hurting our business while we added all these fixed costs. So we're hitting 12% gross margins now, and we added in all these extra fixed costs, and we're not able to really, take away that loss that we were getting on the gross margins, because we expected, okay, we're going to take 12% margins on these bikes. That's fine. But we did not expect this huge decrease in demand. I don't know who's doing their forecasting at Peloton, but they need to get new people. We didn't expect this. Yeah, we didn't expect this acceleration of demand. And what gets me is when their tread was being returned, the first earning call, I get it. Jill Woodward said, okay, they returned more Peloton treadmills than we thought. And that was in Q4 earnings call. Then in Q1, they said again, they returned more Peloton treads than we thought. It's like, they're just so over optimistic.
That one, you like hurting my heart when I felt the same way. Like I'm feeling what you're saying in my heart. Okay, because I heard that both those times. I couldn't remember which earnings calls Jill said that, but I know she said it in the last earnings call in November, and it surprised me that again we're talking about they didn't anticipate the number of tread returns, and so that one. But also they mentioned in that earnings call about they were how they were selling, like their sales were like 50% of their bike sales were like bike. The other 50% were like bike plus, until they dropped the price of the bike. And now it turned into, I can't remember the number.
Wasn't it 70-30?
25?
It was
something like that.
20 around there.
Okay.
Yeah. And they mentioned that. I took it as they were surprised at that. And that hurt revenue. Yeah. Right. And so that takes me back to your statement. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like who's forecasting and predicting this stuff? Because that one, I'm not getting why that would be a surprise.
To be fair, in this environment, who could forecast any of this? I mean, I don't know that anybody could do a better job. I mean, yeah, different people could come up with different numbers, but how would you have known who to listen to in today's environment? There is no precedent for this.
Okay, I get that, Crystal, but defend this decision. In September 2020, there was a back order for 2 months for Peloton bikes. So if there was a back order for 2 months, why did we cut the OG bike price when there was 2 months back order? I mean, it's simple supply and demand. When they cut the price on that, I went bonkers. I was like, that was the first. That was
because they wanted to democratize fitness. Remember?
I was actually, it's funny because when they dropped the price, my naivety, I was like, oh, that's great. Until the earnings call and I heard that disparity and the revenue issue. Yeah. I was like, wait a minute, raise that price back up. You can't do it now. But.
And here's the thing, Crystal, if you want to democratize fitness, then it's probably best you stay in business.
I mean, that is fair. And hey, I'm just saying what Foley said. I didn't make the decision.
But I felt like that was just an attempt to bring in even more people, that they're trying to solidify their foothold. It to me, it's similar. A lot of their decisions seem similar to what Netflix has been doing, which is they had signed all these deals for third-party content, and then the companies realized, oh, well, we should have our own streaming. They knew all that content was going away. So they started pouring money into content creation because they wanted to get as many people sign up for Netflix as possible and be the 800-pound gorilla. It just seemed kind of like a similar mindset of, let's get as many people on our platform because it's sticky. And once they're here, we feel like they're not going to leave because historically the churn has been so low. Is that
and it still is
that not accurate, or is that not a good theory, or is this something that might in a year from now look smarter than it looks at the moment?
Well, first off, hindsight's 2020, right?
That was a bad year.
Yes.
It was a bad year. We're going through a period of normalization. It's probably going to continue to be, a little fuzzy for the next 12 months. But I think the Peloton bike, and I know the Peloton bike, it is the Trojan horse, really, to get customers into this ecosystem.
Right.
Yeah.
And people need to remember that sales are going down. I understand that. But you've been selling the same bike for 9 years, right? What happens when we introduce these different products, right? When people get the tread, the bike, they get the rower, that God knows when that's coming out.
Homecoming, man. Homecoming.
But we're looking at right now, just for the bike, a 92% retention rate. What happens to that retention rate when customers have more products in their ecosystem? And it all to your point, Tom, it all starts with the bike. The bike is the gateway drug, if you will.
That's an interesting point because, historically, the funnel was get the person into digital, and then you get them into digital, and then you can eventually get them into a bike, and then you can start adding on product. But last I heard in the last earnings call, it looked like digital subscriptions were now much lower. It was like, I don't remember what the numbers were, but it looked like that had just dropped. And so it looks, I don't know if that's because, the brand name is out there more now, and people are just going directly at the actual connected fitness product. So they're starting with the bike now. Now the bike is the beginning of the funnel. Like, I don't know what that is, but it looked like digital.
I do think that's part of it because now the bike is more accessible. And it's like, and we talked about this before too, John, but whenever, you talk about that new split, instead of being 50-50, I still say that we don't know that those people would have bought anything before. Like if you have, they could have bought nothing, but now that the bike is cheaper, now they're there, and they're paying more for the subscription instead of paying a digital subscription, so that's good too. But
right.
I don't know if they're going to buy other products though, because some people feel like that's all they need is just the bike. They don't need all these other things. So
they do. If Peloton wants to be the company we want it to be, that we envision, that fully envisions, it's going to have to be more than just the bike.
Well,
and I think, I know you guys know this too. They say the tread is a 2 to 3x opportunity, and you can see that because Orange Theory, these type of boot camp and CrossFit, are 10x of the boutique cycling studios. So there should be a bigger total addressable market for the tread, which they're betting on. And people say, well, the tread's not taking off as fast as they thought it would, but right now there's only an 11% unaided awareness for the Peloton tread. And to go back for that level of that low of a level for awareness on the bike, you would have to go back to 2015.
Wait, what is unaided awareness? I don't even know what that means. Do you mean like are you
name
talking
recognition?
About,
you don't have to prompt them.
Okay, I was
right?
going to say I thought maybe it was marketing.
Yeah. So here's where I think they have issues with the tread. Crystal and I were talking about this morning.
Because we're nerds.
Because we're nerds. Sometimes it's like, stop doing an episode for free, honey. Just shut up. Talk about it later. I think the problem that they're going to run into with the tread is, I think that so far the little bit of tread marketing I've seen has kind of mirrored what you saw historically for the bike marketing. And I think, as a marketing guy, that is a huge mistake. And the reason I think that's a mistake is content attached to the device was baked in to spinning. Whether Mad Dog lets you call it that or not, we all know that's what it is. And it's not baked into running. And I think a lot of people They think I'm going to get on my tread. I'm going to watch Netflix. I'm going to listen to a podcast. I'm going to listen to an audiobook. I don't want one of your instructors jibber jabbering at me. And I think that they need to have a marketing campaign that explains to people why they're wrong and why they do want an instructor jibber jabbering at them, and that it's going to make them run better, harder, faster,
because you won't just be a runner, you can become an athlete in a different way.
And I think that's going to be the big problem for the tread, is overcoming the concept or the notion that, like, I don't need someone to tell me how to run.
Mm-hmm.
I think it goes a little beyond that. If we're just talking about running, I got you. I'm with you. But back in, now I don't remember when it was, 2018, when they released the Tread Plus. And I flew out to Vegas, and Foley and Robin Arzon were announcing the Tread Plus. And I talked to Robin that day, and she talked about, me and Erica were talking to her, she talked about this concept that you're talking about of boot camps and using the tread in kind of that style of an Orange Theory, and how far they were going to kind of take this. And I remember she was really excited about it. Everybody was there really excited about this concept. It wasn't really about running. It was about that boutique kind of feel of boot camp training. And so I kind of hear the message here around that concept. If it takes off, well, yeah, that might be a great thing. I question whether or not that ever was going to be the same at home as it is in a boutique fitness environment. That's where my question is. I don't know if it's the same thing.
It's funny. I don't want to use the tread that way. So when I hear you say that, it's like, that's disappointing to me. To me, the core issue with Peloton right now is they're going in too many different directions at the exact same time, and they're not able to fully satisfy any one of the people using it, because you have bike people who are like, where are my 45-minute classes? Where are my 60-minute classes? You have people like me that are like, get rid of all these boot camps, just give me pure running classes. Then you have people that are like, but I want more boot camps and I want longer boot camps. And then you have the people who are like, what happened to the bar? Why haven't you given me more bar classes?
Well, they have 185 instructors. Why is it either or?
But that's because they need to rest. They can't record 24/7. And like, when you have 18 modalities, there's only so many classes a day. And don't forget, they're also doing all this marketing crap. Every time they sit down to talk to one of these magazines, that's not for free, guys. That's sitting down, part of their job. And so 40 hours a week on average, a person, right? You have interviews you have to do, you have classes you have to build, you have playlisting you have to do, and then you have all the appearances you have to do. When the hell is there time to teach? Like, so that's also, what I think is happening.
I want to clarify, when I say I don't know that the boutique at home is the same as a boot camp at home is the same as the boot camp at the boutique, is because I think on the bike, you're on the bike and you're riding the people on the leaderboard and you're giving high fives, and afterwards you're talking about it on Facebook. I think there's still a sense of community and magic in that.
Yeah. But
I don't know that you replicate that camaraderie and environment of boot camps in a boutique fitness kind of scenario when you're doing it alone at home on the tread. I don't know if those are the same, like you can somewhat replicate it on the bike. I don't know if it's the same thing. So that's why I question that a little.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
It all comes down to cost and convenience, right? And we see it on Facebook. Everyone says they love the tread more than they love the bike, right? And this is it's going to take time to get off the ground, but more people are realizing that this isn't the old clunky treadmill that they've been used to for the past 50 years. This is something different. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I fully see the tread being as big as the bike. We just got to have a little bit of patience. You got to see that they sell in America, they sell on average 5 million treads per year. That far outweighs the amount of bikes that are sold per year.
Wow.
This is a bigger category, and Peloton is at the forefront. They are the leader. They just need to get more people to try the product. And like I said, that's going to take time.
So it kind of goes back to what Tom was saying about education.
I love my tread.
Wait, you're not. Wait, say that again, John.
I love my tread.
I love my tread.
I love it from a running. I don't love it from a boot camp perspective, though. I love it from a running perspective.
I don't do that many boot camps, but I love the runs.
Yeah, I don't do any boot camp.
Yeah, I'm not going to sprint outside. I'm not going to do a 30-second sprint outside. Hell no.
It's dangerous.
Go my 8-minute pace.
It's dangerous. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day because you can't block everything out. There's traffic. Right. There's things like you can't go as fast as humanly possible, when you're outside because you don't know what's going to pop in front of you, but when you're at home safe in in my basement, it's easy. It's easy to like really focus on that and like just lose yourself in that moment.
I love running outside too. I don't have a problem running outside. I just love the content and the convenience. So
yes.
I love the tread.
So what does this all mean for 2022
yes,
then? Looking
forward, what do you think we can expect? And what do you think they will do? What do you think they should do?
So I'm pretty upset with the lack of planning that we have for Peloton commercial. They purchased Precor and they said that the Precor sales haven't been what they were anticipating. And then simultaneously you have Planet Fitness saying, the return to gyms are beating our expectations.
They also said, though, that they aren't able to get all the parts in for those Precor machines. Like that was part of the issue. So okay. I do remember that from the earnings call that they said part of it was like supply chain issues and that was affecting sales.
That makes sense. And I think that's something that Peloton, they need to go after hotels and gyms, be at more airports. I think it was, Foley said when he was selling Peloton bikes at a kiosk, he got it down to where he would only have to, 50% of the people that he got to try the bike would end up buying it. So he just needed people to try it. And that's what we're at right now. We just need people to try it. There's people that would love a Peloton. They just don't know that they would love a Peloton. And we got to get them to try it.
Yeah.
And the only way we can get to try it is if we let Peloton commercial take off. Anyone who's listening to this, they just put out a job posting for Peloton commercial. If you have any experience in gym exercise commercial equipment, apply for that job because they need more talent. But I think they need to be out there so they can. And there was also a stat that one Peloton in one hotel equals 7 new Peloton subscribers. So I don't know how they came up with that number, but that's what Jill Woodworth said on an earnings call. So I want to see that happen. I want to see a slowdown in how much cash they're burning. They need, like Foley said, they need to get back to basics. And we need to see that. We need to see that they can run this company like mature adults and not spend frivolously. I would like to see them cut down on their manufacturing a little bit, right? Because we're uncertain. And probably, I hate to say this, but they probably need to fire some people too. I mean, it's gonna. I know I hate saying it, but this is a huge wake up. This is a huge wake up call. Foley said on the call, we will come out of this uncertain operating environment a much more strong and nimble company. When I think of nimble, I think of we're chopping heads, which they might need to do. And look. Tesla in 2016, they were nearing bankruptcy, right? And they had to do this. They had to slash personnel, and that was Tesla's wake-up call. They're near bankruptcy. And Peloton's not even close to where Tesla was, right? So this is John Foley's wake-up call that he needs. So I want to see them be a lot more disciplined on their cash burn. I don't like that they're spending 35% of all their revenue on commercials and advertising. I hate that. Airbnb CEO just came out and said, hey, we just stopped our advertising just as an experiment to see. And he said they saw no slowdown in sales. So are we spending $1.3 billion on advertising that we don't need to?
Well, okay. I have to bring up a counterpoint to that. One, they did slow down their advertising last year. And so they did try the whole not doing it. And they had a crazy good year. But I mean,
but pandemic,
right? Pandemic,
yeah.
but also, you know, you talk about we need to let people know about how great the tread is. The advertising is going to be pushed on the tread this year. That's been the plan, and they've never pushed the tread. They've never spent all the advertising dollars on the tread. This is the first year they're doing that. So I think we got to give them some space to do that, because how else are you going to educate without the commercials?
I get it. But 35% of all the money you're making on advertising doesn't.
Well, you got to pay Ryan Reynolds, man.
Yeah, well, and yeah, I mean,
it all went to Ryan.
And I think that's where you're.
That stat,
it's the dog.
35% was before Ryan Reynolds, right? So,
and I think that's where you see the kind of the Netflix mentality, right? Which is that like they want to try to acquire as many customers as they can before they fall into a different fitness ecosystem, you know?
I like using a Netflix analogy when I'm talking about Peloton, because Netflix is something that a lot of companies can copy, right?
Yeah.
Like you see Amazon, Apple TV, Hulu, they're all getting into this space that Netflix is. And a way that Peloton can keep software competitors at bay is because they're selling hardware, right? And like that hardware that they have to deliver, they have to manufacture, that creates a barrier to entry. And that's why Apple hasn't come out with their bikes. Also, Peloton owns everything in their vertically integrated model. So their content costs, they're not going to increase, right? And they're just amortizing that content cost amongst their growing subscriber base.
Right.
Whereas Netflix, once they make more money, these third-party, contractors that are shooting their stuff, they're going to say, hey, Netflix, we want more. You're making more. We want more. Or we'll go to Amazon or Hulu and we'll sell our stuff there.
Right.
Peloton doesn't have that worry because they own everything in-house. And I think a lot of analysts are discounting that.
Yeah, the closest they get to that is if Cody Rigsby wants a raise when his contract is up, which is much more manageable than trying to get season 19 of Cobra Kai, right? Like that's every season. Every actor on that show wants more money, and
but season 4 is here, so
season
yay.
4 is here, and you will also, but then you also have that multiplied by any hit show that they have, whether it's Orange is the New Black or whatever. So
for sure.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to, when you talk about Apple and all this, the other big thing is people keep saying, oh, Apple's going to buy Peloton. I mean, I'm a big believer that's not true, but I keep seeing more and more and more people saying Peloton is going to get bought. Like every analyst out there is now saying Peloton's going to get bought. So,
I bet there has to be private equity. Who knows? I mean, how do we know if Apple or Disney haven't already approached Peloton?
We don't. I just don't think it's a good fit. I don't think Peloton wants to.
I feel the same way. I don't know that it's a good fit for Apple. I don't know about Disney.
I don't know that Disney needs another streaming platform, which is essentially what they would be purchasing. Like that's like it's not in their wheelhouse. And so
here's the thing. If Apple bought Peloton, all they would have to do is they'd have to dilute their shareholders, which we were just diluted in that capital raise. They would have to dilute shareholders like 0.25%. I mean, not even that. And once they buy, I mean, they have enough cash on hand to buy Peloton for, let's say, $20 billion. And they're worth, almost $3 trillion. So if they bought Peloton for, let's say, $20 billion, I guarantee their market cap would go up $50 billion. They would probably net $30 billion on that deal, just because Peloton's such a big name brand.
Yeah.
And that's another space that Apple's going to dominate because they acquired Peloton. I guarantee there's companies that are coming into Peloton right now. The thing about Peloton is all these companies are fighting for our attention. They want our attention. And Peloton, before the pause button especially, you are getting people's attention for up to an hour a day, every day. You can monetize that attention.
That's Apple, what I've been saying.
Disney, Netflix, they want that. They want to be able to have their customers' attention like Peloton has.
Yeah.
And Peloton's not capitalizing on it. Yeah. Another thing for 2022 is come out with your own social media. Come out with your own social media, Peloton. What is taking you so long? When I get done with a ride, I want to message someone and be like, hey, man, you kicked my ass, but I gave it all I got. Something like that, right? Like there's no platform. And when you have a platform, a social media platform, you can get so much more data. You can analyze and collect and synthesize so much more data than you can on another third-party platform. Nordic Track is not our biggest competitor. Our biggest competitor is probably going to be a Facebook. So why are we letting Facebook control all our conversations? How hard is it for Peloton to create a social media site? I think that's something I'd like to see in 2022.
I know I've heard rumors they've been working on one for a long, long time. So I don't know if that'll ever come to fruition, because I mean, I heard rumors about that years ago at this point. So I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
My interest is that kind of aligns to one of the things I want to see in 2022. But I know you, Crystal, have heard me talk about this a lot. It's just about broader innovation, something I haven't seen, something that brings some excitement. But I would like to see that as it relates to what they're doing and with their contracting with the music industry, like a media service that streams music or something into that realm. I'd like to see that happen. But anyways, from a 2022 perspective, I'm looking for international markets. I want to see what's happening over there. I don't really know what's going on. I want to know more about.
You want to have more transparency
in 2022. Yeah, I want to hear more about that. I want to see. I don't want this. I don't want to just continue to see the status quo and an attempt to continue to kind of build upon those SKUs that they currently have. Like, I want to see
new SKUs.
I want to see them evolve into something that feels to me to be innovative, right?
The guy didn't do it.
That feels like stagnation to me, and that feels like someone could hop over you with something that's innovative, and you've just been trying to broaden the same stuff, and someone just bypassed you. Like, I'm looking for something that's truly innovative to happen, right? And then I'm also looking for a feel of that was not a gaffe. Like, I keep feeling these things was that a gaffe? Or maybe it wasn't. Oh, was that strategic? Or maybe that was just a mistake. Like, I'm looking to stop seeing that. Like, I don't want to see that. That makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Right? As an investor.
2021 has been a lot of question marks about that. A lot.
Yeah.
Well, and part of the reason for that is because, we went from a startup to a mega cap overnight. And usually companies are going to have time to go through the proper growing pains.
That's true.
But COVID, it just launches so fast so we didn't have time to overcome growing pains.
Right.
And some analysts look at, I think they're crazy for saying it, but they look at the pandemic as a net negative, because all it did was add all these unnecessary fixed costs that Peloton's going to, carry. And it caused just awful forecasting for demand. But at the end of the day, when you have almost 5x subscribers after the pandemic that are continually paying $39 a month at 80% gross margins, no, the pandemic was definitely a net positive for them, especially because they were the clear leader. They already bought Tonic, so they already owned their manufacturing. They already had, a pretty decent delivery team. And when you talk about a competitor coming in, it's going to take a lot. Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook with $0. He didn't need money to start Facebook. To start an exercise equipment company, you need a lot of capital. And you talk about the music licensing, that's a big cost. You guys talked about on your show too, and I appreciate the heads up for investors that was it Beachbody. They don't even have the same music. If you play their class on record, it comes with different music. Right. We're seeing Nordic Track, they're cutting their live classes to till like 8 to noon or something like that.
Right.
You're seeing Lululemon, they're off 50% on their forecast for revenue. There's something going on in the fitness space, and it's just not Peloton. And if we look at these other competitors, I think they're feeling the blow from this connected fitness slowdown much more than Peloton is.
Agreed.
And
yes.
I think too, okay, let's look at this too. 25% of all the gyms in America are closed right now. Right. And all these places are saying, we're almost back to pre-COVID levels. But if you have 25% of the gyms in America closed, how are these gyms not back to 100% levels since there's 25% less choices? People have already spent so much money on household assets. Right now we're going through a normalization period where people just aren't buying stuff for the house. They're not sure if they want to get their gym membership, get another gym membership because they don't know the status of COVID. So we're kind of in a wait and see period. And I think after, maybe midpoint of 2022, management's going to have a lot better idea of how to forecast, and they're going to have a lot easier comps to compete with because they're not going to be comparing this quarter versus the quarter of peak COVID. So
I definitely agree
think
with that.
A lot of good to come.
I got a question for you, which I would be interested in your thoughts on this. The Tonic acquisition, the Precor acquisition, the Peloton Output Park, that project, did all in, the latter two with the intent to kind of bring manufacturing onshore. Did they overshoot based on demand from COVID, and now they're hurting because of that?
Well, here's the deal. When you listen to earnings call, John, you got to read between the lines, right? Because they're not going to tell you everything that you want to hear. Like reading between the lines, when John Foley said, we're playing chess while the competitions are playing checkers, right there, that statement was a red flag. I should have caught that, and I'm mad I didn't. But also on the last earnings call, Jill Woodward said, overall, we believe we met the challenge to, keep up with demand. But there's no doubt that in some cases, we've overcorrected. Mm-hmm. Now, that's coming from Jill Woodworth, who also said, we don't need to do a capital raise. And she said that with the utmost confidence.
Then a week later, right.
Then the week later she did. So now she's actually admitting they messed up, overcorrecting. So how bad is it really? And you're talking about the $400 million investment at Peloton Park. I'm great with that because we don't know what China's going to be doing. There's a big geopolitical risk in Taiwan. We needed to have manufacturing stateside. So I'm cool with that.
My thought was, didn't you already kind of put yourself in a position to bring manufacturing stateside with the Precor acquisition?
Well, yeah, I think so. That's another thing. We just don't know enough about Precor. Crystal's saying they don't have enough parts. I mean, do they have the tooling already set up to make these treadmills?
Well, and to be honest, we don't even know what they're really doing. We don't know if they're going to take existing Precor and add some Peloton elements. Are they going to take some existing Peloton and add some Precor elements? Are they going to be completely separate? Like, we don't even know that. Like, they haven't even told us that. So
we need to do that in 2022. We need to see a game plan for Peloton. And that is one of the things I want to see big time. Like, don't they have something where you just click a QR code when you're at a hotel and there's a tonal or something? Like, you can just log in.
They have a hotel finder. To be fair, so does Peloton. They have a hotel finder. Yeah.
That's interesting. I missed I remember hearing Jill Woodworth talk about the overcorrection, and I remember hearing John Foley talk about we're playing chess and they're playing checkers. But I just started cheering when he said that. I didn't really equate it to anything. Right. Yeah.
That's because John Foley doesn't usually talk like that. Like, it's interesting because he doesn't normally talk like that. That was smack talk, and he's gotten a little more smack talky in the last year, which is interesting given that this is the worst year that they've ever had.
In retrospect, I'm like,
did he though? Did he? Because I remember when Peloton was at $120, $130 a share, he went on CNBC and just said, it's laughable that you think we're a COVID company. And then in their letter to shareholders, he said, we can't wait for the pandemic to be over so we can get back to normalized shipping. Like, basically, a little joke like, hey, you think we're a COVID company. And now we're not at 120, 130 anymore. We're at 38 and he's not saying anything. So he's saying something at 120, 130, but he's not saying something at 38. Those are some of the things you got to read between the lines as an investor. Be like, well, why is he not saying something right now? He was saying something there. One thing he's been very consistent on. Have you guys listened to the Tony Robbins interview?
No.
Oh, you guys got to listen to that. So price of Peloton's like 120 a share. And he gets asked, he's been consistent on this, by the way. He gets asked by the audience, what's it like, John Foley does, what's it like to finally make it as an entrepreneur? And his response, and he's been saying this response, is, I haven't made it. He's like, I'm still pretty pissed off that everyone's doubting us and we're going to do more. Like, this guy, I mean, he's making a lot of mistakes and he misses big because he goes big. And he really reminds me of a Steve Jobs, who wasn't the most favorable CEO at one time. He got kicked out of Apple for being so damn stubborn, kind of like Foley. And Elon Musk.
Walt Disney.
I mean, Elon Musk went from having $100 million in 2009 to 2009, where he was living off payday loans because he invested all his money to keep Tesla afloat, and he was about to go bankrupt. Like this, and this might be a little bit of survivorship bias, but Peloton, I think, is going to be one of those companies that weathers the storm, like a Tesla, like an Apple. And like right now, if you, and again, I'm not a financial advisor, I don't know your risks. I don't base any trades off what I'm saying. But if you have a 2-year time horizon, I think this is an incredible opportunity, because the market right now is pricing Peloton as, okay, yeah, it's clear leader in the space, and it's the first one there, but so is MySpace. Mm-hmm. And now we're starting to see valuation that Peloton might go away, and there's going to be another leader in connected fitness. And like I said earlier, we know that's not true because all these other connected fitness companies are suffering way worse than Peloton.
No other connected fitness company has an instructor that somebody knows the name of.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, none of them have even one breakout star, and Peloton has multiples.
A lot.
And so I think that's one of the main differences.
I thought the Echelon had what's the
peanut butter and jelly? Peanut butter and jelly lady? Is that
no? Denise Austin.
Oh, is she an instructor? I don't know.
She was.
Is that the $6 million man's daughter? Daughter of Steve Austin?
And then they have Billy Blanks. Remember, they have Billy Blanks.
Oh, yeah, typo. We're bringing that too. I do. Yeah.
But, well, Bill, thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, let everybody know where they can find you if you want to be found.
Yeah, if you want to be found.
Yeah. So I'm on Twitter right now. I used to be a lot more vocal about Peloton. I'm kind of ducking into the shadows a little bit, but I think right now is a great time to buy. You can find me on Twitter, wild_Bill32. My Twitter handle used to be Peloton Gains. Now it's Peloton Pains. But if you want to find me, I'm there.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank
and John,
you.
where can they find you and your wares?
Well, they can. I'm gonna follow Bill, but they can find me on Facebook, on my Facebook page or group, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on Instagram, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on the tickety-tock, Run, Lift, and Live, or they can find me at runliftandlive.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jen.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Jen Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. She also has a wonderful app called No More Diets. Ladies and gentlemen, and all points in between, it's Dr. Jen. Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
So good to have you back. We have need of your help. One of our listeners in the Clip Out community, Deborah Anzalone, she says that she has family visiting for the holidays, and she would like to know how to balance her time commitments with Peloton challenges and Apple Watch challenges and all the things, because she's put all these weeks into her challenges and she really wants to finish, but now family's here. What should she do?
Okay, well, I have a lot of advice, but first of all, I want to also kind of mention taking on too many challenges at once sets you up to fail. And you got to be realistic. I like to do one at a time is what I recommend to most people. It sounds like you're doing at least 2 different sites, and it sounds like you're doing multiple ones. So in general, I would change your approach. I would do 1 at a time, max 2 if they're shorter kind of commitments, like 5-minute classes, 10-minute classes, as opposed to longer classes. So that's to start with. I think also when you have family time, especially during the holidays, it is so important to take time to yourself. Even if you're not in the Peloton community, going for a walk on your own, just kind of leaving the building so that everyone's kind of energy and any negativity that's going on or any conflict that you can kind of escape. And also you can practice self-care. So I think it's really important to kind of carve out that time to yourself and to let family know in advance. If you're having a lot of people at your house, if you're doing a lot of events, schedule it in. If you are in charge of putting together parties, meals, things like that, events, New Year's Eve, all that sort of stuff, make sure that you actually schedule it into your calendar along with all of your other prep that you're doing for a party or an event. And then also, if you're just kind of, let's say you're hanging out, you're visiting with your family and you're staying at your parents' house, for example, make sure that you let everyone know in advance, hey, every day from 9 to 10, I'm going to be working out. So if you're going to plan some fun family activities, don't, just assume that I'm not going to be there, or else make sure you plan it after I've had time to shower. Maybe we could do things from 11 o'clock on. But letting people know in advance, setting the boundary, framing it in terms of self-care, because also sometimes people who are not in the Peloton community can sometimes not understand the passion we have for our workouts, our challenges, our instructors, that it's not just a workout for most of us. It is connecting with ourselves. It's our escape. It's our connection to the community. It's our connection to our instructor. It's very multi-leveled in terms of our emotional experience of it, and that not everyone's going to understand that, and that's okay. Don't expect them to.
Yeah.
Critical that people give you a hard time. Someone over there relating?
Maybe.
If someone in your family doesn't relate and they're like, oh, you're so obsessive about that, you're crazy, this is unhealthy, this is terrible, just coat yourself with Teflon, let it roll off of you, unless there's something that does seem like a legit concern where maybe you have a history of an eating disorder or compulsive exercise, then it's worth examining. But if you're someone who has a healthy balance and your family just doesn't understand it and they would rather you be like sitting around and eating and not taking good care of yourself, then really make sure that you just carve it out and don't get too worked up and don't engage too much if someone gives you a hard time about it.
And always remember, they're there for the holidays, and they will be over soon.
Yeah.
Time shall pass.
Yes. They have to leave at some point. If not, we will have a new segment with eviction attorneys. How to get former loved ones out of your home.
Yes.
I hope that never happens to anybody.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for those wonderful tips. And until next time, where can people find you?
You can always find me in Style Magazine. I have a weekly column called Hump Day with Dr. Jen, where I write about sex and relationship and give advice. And then, of course, on my social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, the works. And on Instagram at Dr. Jen Man, at Dr. Jen Man, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Man, on all of them. But on Instagram in particular, I post all of my workouts on my Insta stories if you want to see what I'm doing on Peloton.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Instructors in the news.
So we have a new instructor.
We do. It is Jeffrey McEachern, I believe is how you say it.
Jeffrey. Yeah.
Jeffrey. Yeah. And so he is our next German tread instructor. And so that would be.
Because when I think McEachern, I think German. I guess people can immigrate.
Exactly.
From anywhere to anywhere.
Exactly. So he has joined the team. He has done his premier run. He is doing classes, and I'm hearing very good things. And I know that people are like, why do we have another instructor? Well, we had that one chick that was here for like 2 days and then she's gone. So so they needed to bring up a new one. So this Jeffrey was clearly waiting in the wings for his big moment, which means there's likely a fourth out there that we haven't heard of yet. And so I'm sure we will be having them join soon as well. We knew this year was going to be a lot of instructors. So it is what it is whenever you start going into new countries.
Yes, absolutely.
But welcome, Jeffrey, to the team. And first instructor in a while that has talked back to me whenever I have introduced them to the community. I mean, they get introduced by Peloton, obviously, but like introduce them to my on Instagram. So he's very nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Peloton in the news.
So we were talking about the new tread and how you need to educate people about it, and that they think the growth potential is really there because treads are more popular than bikes ultimately as a category. And DC Rainmaker, very influential, put out a very nice Peloton tread review.
He did, yeah. And I don't know if you got a chance to read this, Tom. It's pretty long, but I loved it. He was very fair. He did pick on Peloton for a few things, but but they were kind of fair things to pick on. The interesting thing that the takeaways that I had were that he has run on a bunch of treadmills over the years, just tons and tons of years. And he hates it. He hates running on treadmills. But guess what? He didn't hate running on it. He loved it. He loved it because the content sucked him in, which is what we keep saying.
Which is what I just said. I did not read this, but that is what I've been saying that for a while.
Right. And so he talked about how it's not people just dancing on the tread, like it's real instructors really instructing, and they actually keep his attention and do a great job. He gets into kind of the geek side of it, and I feel like that's where he kind of, picked on Peloton a bit. Like, what the hell? Why can you not share data with Garmin? Why can you not share data with all of these other places? The only one that you share with is Strava, and that needs to stop. Besides that, he was very complimentary. The stuff he talked about was very minor, and in general, had nothing but great things to say. So.
Awesome.
I think it's great. I think this is going to be a really big deal for Peloton long term. A lot of people go to DC Rainmaker to find out what they should buy. So I think this is a big deal. Peloton
Yoga turned 3 years old.
Well, it's funny when I see this.
Yes.
I immediately think, well, really, they were reborn and now they're 3.
Okay.
Because it says they were born 3 years ago, but really there had already been a Peloton Yoga program that went away, and then they restarted it.
Interesting.
And so, because there was Colleen Seidman-Yee. She was the first yoga instructor at Peloton, and she did a bunch of classes. She's a world famous yoga instructor. And then that was back when they called it Beyond the Ride. Do you remember that?
I remember talking about Beyond the Rides.
It's been a long time. And then that just kind of went away. And there was a period with no new classes, and then ta-da, brand new yoga program. And that is when we first met Kristen McGee, Aditi Shah, and Anna Greenberg. These 3 ladies have been the face of Peloton Yoga since. And we've added a lot more instructors.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, happy birthday, Yoga.
Yes, happy birthday.
And then YouTube channel Morning Brew, which is also a email newsletter that you can sign up for. We were in that. We were in that one time. Has a story. Man writes Peloton stock 700% during pandemic.
Yep.
Not the guy we just talked to.
No, but it sounds like he had a similar thing.
He had a similar experience. Yeah. Hopefully he cashed out.
Yeah. I don't think that the guy did. I didn't watch the whole video, but
Gotcha.
that's the thing. He didn't make any money off of this. So I don't know if it's because he didn't sell or if it's because he was doing it for somebody else. But either way, he made no money.
You got to know when to hold them.
And when to fold them.
And you never count your stock when you're sitting at the table.
Thank you, Kenny.
You're welcome.
Clip out.
So joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube, it's Angelo from MetPro here to answer all of your nutrition questions and help you with your fitness goals. Hello.
Hi.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back.
Thank you for joining us. We have a fun question for you today. This one comes from Lynn K. She wants to know, is there really such a thing as reverse dieting? I know.
All right, Lynn.
I've never heard of reverse dieting. Isn't that just called getting fat?
No.
Dieting
It's the opposite of dieting. You're going to get heavy.
This is what happens when people use buzzwords.
Right. It's a bad name for it, whatever it is.
Marketing got involved, Tom.
Marketing 101. So actually, Lynn, there is some truth to what Tom and Crystal were just saying, that it's really, that is a new terminology for something, for a procedure that has been around for decades and decades. And yes, there is something to reverse dieting. It simply means to rev your metabolism by acclimating your body to a higher and higher intake. And that's basically been done since the early days of bodybuilding. That's what these bodybuilders would do, or physique athletes will do in preparation for a contest, is they'll get their bodies used to more and more intake gradually over their, what we would call bulking phase, bulking season, put on as much muscle as they can, then used to all those calories, then they go into a cutting cycle. And your more elite bodybuilders, etc., are hoping to, gain and lose 25, 30 pounds in a season and just have 5 more pounds of lean mass on them when they get on stage. So the principle is absolutely sound. And in fact, it's largely what I have been teaching for decades at MetPro. The key is it's one of those don't try this at home, folks, disclaimers. So that is the most technical aspect of what we would be doing with a coaching client. That's what our algorithm is all about. That's what all of our tools are designed to do, is to help us most effectively reverse diets, up adjust, or go through what we call a performance cycle to rev your metabolism. And here's why. Most people participating in that cycle are doing so not because they're a bodybuilder trying to add 40 pounds of muscle. They're doing it because what they want is the metabolic revving effects, so that way they can effectively go back into another cutting cycle. So the key is to add at the right pace. And so here's how we would do that. There is no sliding the sheet of paper across the desk and saying, here's what's going to work for you. Let me go Xerox, 100 more copies. You can pass it out to your friends, because it's going to be a disaster. What needs to happen is you have to slowly, not quickly, add just enough. Ideally, the addition is in carbohydrate form. So that means that when you're in a cutting cycle, if done properly, what should have been cut is not your protein. Maybe it's some of your fats, but it's dominantly the carbohydrates that we're using at the leverage going into a reverse dieting or metabolic revving cycle. And what we would start with is small. So I might tell a client, here, you're going to have an extra 3 ounces of sweet potato. You're going to have an extra half an apple, or an extra, quarter cup of brown rice. Small stuff. Because you know what happens when you add that? Nothing. Nothing happens when you add that. It's too small. That is not how human psychology works.
Right.
Because we're trying to lose weight. So what we do is we diet and we lose weight, and then we hit a plateau. Remember, the only thing certain is not just death and taxes, it's death, taxes, and plateauing. You will plateau, no matter how great a program you're on. So when you hit that plateau, nobody says, you know what I'm going to try? I'm going to try adding a quarter cup of oatmeal to my diet. No, they say, forget this. I'm going to add a cheeseburger to my diet. And then they truly do the Tom defined.
They do my reverse diet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's the interesting part, though. Even with the cheeseburger, it does rev your metabolic rate, but you gain all the body fat back in the process, to where it was not a good exchange. So the way that I would do it with a client is I would add just every second or third day a tiny amount, until eventually we've added so much that they gain 1 pound. And then, exactly like I've done, with both of you before, is, all right, now you're going to go burn off this 1 pound, but you can't do it by eating less. You need to go cardio or exercise it off. Because you can exercise off 1 pound, you can't exercise off 40 pounds. So now you come back to me sweating and out of breath. Okay, I did it.
Done.
I lost that pound with, walking on the treadmill, or using my Peloton, or working the tonal, or whatever it is you like to do. And then I'm going to say, great, now go gain it back. We're going to increase again until you gain a pound back. And we're going to gain and lose that same pound repeatedly, typically 3 or 4 times in an up adjust cycle. Then your metabolic rate is just cranking. And that's when we need contrast. So we're going to pull the rug out all at once. We're going to drop your calories lower. We're going to cut a little bit of fats, but mostly carbohydrates. And that's where the body fat will incinerate off of you. So the secret to effective fat loss dieting is effective up adjust cycles. And they're going to be a little different for each person. So there is such a thing as reverse dieting. I hope that helps. The key is execution, doing it well.
And it does work.
It absolutely does.
You look at us from 6 or 8 months ago. And
yes. You look like a different person.
I was at work about a month ago, and I at a concert, because that's what I do, and I saw a lady I know sitting in the stands, and I walked up to her. I had gotten her the tickets, and I walked up to her, and I'm like, "Hey, Judy," and she's just staring right at me. She's like, "What are you talking to me for, weirdo?" And then she's like, "Oh, Tom." And she totally did not recognize me at all.
Oh, that's fantastic. See, that's what that's the power. And the most important thing is you're at a point, Tom, where you're not just itching to put that weight back on. Because I get people who tell me all the time, I'll say, explain what you did. I did this, that, and the other thing. And I'll have a gal that'll say, I weigh 135. It doesn't matter what, pick a number. I weigh 135 pounds. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't own that weight yet. It's like, why not? I said, because you're weigh that much, but you're not eating. Once you go back to eating normal, you're no longer going to weigh that much.
Right.
So you own it if that's your weight, because your metabolism is fast enough that your body wants to be there, not because you've starved yourself and created a circumstance. And so that's why you guys are both in a fantastic place with your progress, and will continue to make even more progress. So.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see what comes next. So if people would like the women from their past not to recognize them, where can they find you so you can help them?
Such a way with words.
I know. It's like, where is he going with this?
Oh, my goodness. So go to metpro.co/TCO. I'd love to get to the opportunity to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Instructors in the news.
GloriousSport.com writes about lots of different Peloton instructors, the maestros of motivation.
Yeah, there's so many instructors they talked about that will help you reach your goals. And this article specifically talks to the instructors about how they stay motivated. And I saw several of the instructors. We have some of our new instructor, Jocelyn Thompson Rule. Hannah Corbin was in here. Bradley Rose was in here. So a lot of different instructors. And it was some of the newer instructors. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nice to see some of the newer ones getting time. And I guess this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is that it's the content that ultimately differentiates Peloton.
It is. It is.
So Ben and Leanne are selling Mazdas.
Yeah. They get to try out the all-electric Mazda MX-30. And I don't know anything about it other than it's an electric car and it's not available in some places.
I was going to say it might not be available here because I know sometimes they have different makes and models in different countries. So.
Yeah. So they're going to be doing that 6 months. See how it works out. Lots of people had lots of comments about this.
It's weird the things people get mad about.
I know.
Like
some days I'm just like, I don't even want to go on the internet. You guys are so shitty.
Yeah.
And you guys just like everybody on the internet. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's just like people were mad, like instructors haven't been selling you things for like a while.
Yeah.
Like
shouldn't they be riding a bike? Across the entire continent. I mean, really?
Yeah. Yes, they should never use any other mode of transportation.
I mean, well, whatever. Good for them. They're getting some cash.
Absolutely. And then Kirsten Ferguson was on the Hurdle podcast.
Sure was. So we've had several of our Peloton instructors over there. So this is another one. This is episode 189. And I don't know if you've had a chance, if many listeners have had a chance to take a class with Kirsten, but she is hilarious and amazing. And you should if you haven't. So definitely check this podcast out.
A website called Marca.com is asking just exactly which muscles do mountain climbers work out, like the move, not actual mountain climbers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I realized as I was saying that out loud, that could sound weird. Because of tonal, I know what those are. Before, I'd have been like, well, I mean, I guess mountain climbers are working their legs, right? Like they're climbing. Like that's
actually, it's a lot of upper body, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. So, but Jess Sims is featured in the article.
Yeah, she talks about she breaks some of this down. There's other people in here too, but I love just seeing our instructors get mentioned.
Yeah. It just shows that they are experts.
Yeah. And the answer is pretty much everything, especially your core. It's your core. Mountain climbers suck. They're the worst. Except for burpees. Burpees are the worst.
And again, if we have any mountain climbers who are listening,
it was the exercise.
She means the exercise move.
I love mountain climbers, the people.
Calm down.
They're so fit.
That's enough. And another instructor roundup of sorts. Women's Health has the 12 best Peloton instructors for every workout vibe, which is a poorly written headline because it makes it sound like for every workout vibe, they're going to give you 12 different instructors to choose for that vibe.
It's, SEO has ruined headlines.
Yes.
It's annoying.
And just articles in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I now when I read an article, I legit skip the first 4 paragraphs.
Because it's all just SEO. That's the only reason it's there.
It's awful.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
So that's just skip to the good part. And here's the deal. It breaks it down, and we've seen this before.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different take on it. But here's the cool thing. New instructors have been added to the list.
How about that?
So if there's some people that you haven't tried and you're not sure, what vibe they go best with, check out the article and you will find out.
Now you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A visit from the Peloton Prophet.
Well, it's been a bit since we've had a visit from the Prophet.
It has been a bit.
And here they are.
Here they are indeed. So we're hearing that work is being done at Peloton so that the Apple Watch can work as a heart rate monitor for all class types. Let me say that again for the people in the back. All class types. So does that mean the tread and the tread plus? Yes. Does that mean the bike and the bike plus? Yes. All class types. All.
What about the tread?
Yes.
But not the tread plus.
Anything that can sync with Bluetooth, you can use it.
And you should probably also remind people, because you got asked this, and blew somebody's mind, was it Garmin?
Yeah. People also kept saying to me this, Peloton needs to do this with some of the other makers like Garmin. Guys, it's out there. If you are not already doing this, it's so easy. All you have to do is change your Garmin watch to broadcast your heart rate and boom, it will show up on your screen.
Ta-da.
It's out there for you. You're good to go. This will be a big deal. Mm-hmm. Oh, and one other thing I got questioned about. It has nothing to do with Peloton releasing their own upgraded heart rate monitor that's still on track. We're still going to see that being released with the Peloton Guide.
So 2022 is almost upon us, or by the time you listen to us, if you want to make it your best year yet, you should think about FightCamp.
You should, because it has thousands of classes, new workouts added each week. You're always going to find something new. You can use filters to explore different workout styles, links, trainers, difficulty levels, and more. You're never going to get bored.
Oh, wait, but I have little to no boxing experience. Well, don't worry. FightCamp has your back. They've created programs specifically designed to teach you the basics of boxing and kickboxing so you can build a strong foundation.
They have plenty of data, so you're going to get real-time data during your workout so you can track your progress, work toward guided goals, and see exactly how you're improving over time. Not to mention, boxing requires focus. Precise combinations push you to think about every punch you throw. It's the ultimate way to clear your mind and forget you're working out.
Now is the best time to get your FightCamp. Take advantage of their holiday deal going on now. If you purchase this month, you'll get an additional pair of gloves for free. Just go to joinfightcamp.com/clip.
To get an additional pair of gloves for free, go to joinfightcamp.com/clip. That's joinfightcamp.com/clip.
Peloton artist collaboration.
Well, in case you were living under a rock, the artist collaboration that they had been teasing was Taylor Swift. Ta-da.
I was right.
Crystal was right.
But I have to say, I was right because so many people brought to my attention how many clues that there were, and there were clues that they were aware of.
Yeah.
And some people that listened to the show brought it up, and I was instantly like, yes, you are correct. But there was a challenge where you do 3 workouts starting on the 26th, and you get a special, it's a Swiftie challenge badge, and it was a scarf. How amazing is that? So of course I had to do that.
It was a scarf. Yeah. So I guess we know that Gyllenhaals aren't Peloton users.
Or maybe they think it's funny too. You never
I
know.
don't think they think it's funny.
No, probably not.
That would be my guess. So, but they also had all sorts of clues laid around for people. I thought this was really cool. It was like an episode of Lost.
Yeah, I loved this because some of these were picked up on by the people that I talked about. For example, the red box, the red square came out on Taylor Swift's birthday,
right.
And people immediately knew it was going to be Taylor Swift. But there were 13 clues total, and a lot of them I don't think people even got. Is the video going to play again? Or
I thought,
okay.
Yeah, that was an home.
So there were 13 clues. The first one was the box. The second one, Ally Love featured the song 22 for the first time ever. They had never played anything from Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And she played it with 22 minutes left in class. Clue number 3, they liked Taylor-related TikToks and only 13 of hers. Then number 4, there was a keychain on the ground of one of their boxes. They posted the red box and they had dropping December 25th, which has 13 letters. 27, several instructors had lyrics and song titles in their classes. Instructors were red from the album cover. They wore rings from the album cover. Callie brought a red scarf. Susie shouted out Miss Superior Thinking and plaid shirt days. They weren't even real people. And then Olivia was wearing cat ears and shouted out Ben and Meredith. It's a nod to Taylor's 3 cats.
Okay.
That was amazing. That was clue number 11. And that was probably my favorite one. And then Anna Greenberg taught everyone how to apply a red lip. Did not see that. And then on 13, Peloton's logo went full red on the day that it dropped. Or the 24th. So yeah. That was a lot. That was a lot.
Boy, that's probably going to feed a lot of conspiracy theories moving forward.
It probably will. Yeah, it probably will. But it will be interesting to see if they do this with other artist series. I hope that they do, because I thought it was a lot of fun.
That is cool.
In case you missed it.
So the challenge for 2022 has been announced.
Yeah, it's the annual challenge is back. So this is where they do an annual challenge. It's year long, and it adds up all of the minutes you use across all of the different platforms. So whether you're walking, you're running, you're doing strength, you're doing yoga, you're doing meditation, all of it counts. And it's been going on. I think this is the 3rd year. So at first they had like 5,000 and 8,000. That was the most you could reach. And then they quickly added more onto that because have they met us?
Yeah.
And and now they're up to like 25,000 minutes. And
Holy
it's
cow.
still not enough for some people.
Whoa.
So it will be interesting to see if yet even more additional tiers are added for 2022. But if you haven't yet, make sure that you log in and join the challenge.
The annual challenge. And remember, without you, it's an anal challenge.
Oh my God.
Also, Andy Spear is back with Total Strength 2.
Yeah, so it's a whole program all about strength. And so this is a sequel. It's going to be another program that covers several weeks. This time it's 6 weeks, and it is a full body regimen. So you're going to do a strength test at the beginning, a strength test at the end, and you are going to be able to see what your strength did over that 6 weeks. So that'll be pretty cool.
And then finally, there is a year-end sale.
Yes. And originally I'd heard it was going to be up to 30% off apparel. But it turns out that items that have been up for a while are actually up to 50% off. So how cool is that? Started on 12/26. My understanding is it goes until the 2nd or 3rd of January.
Awesome.
Lots of stuff out there, too. You can't say that there's nothing out there anymore.
That is
true. Those days are over.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Stacie Platt, Stacie Platt. Sorry, my grammar got all screwed up because we have 2 people. Stacie Platt and Josh Amerson. Hey, how's it going? Gender neutral guys.
Gender neutral guys.
The word guys is gender neutral, not you two.
Right.
It's
right.
all taken a turn.
We're off to a really good grammatical start.
Yes.
I was like, I'll take over, Tom.
Okay. I'll be upstairs.
So whenever I start these interviews, guys, I always I did it too, guys. I always kind of want to find out the background of how you originally found out about Peloton. So I don't know if you guys have two different stories for Peloton or if it's a similar story for how you found Peloton. Is it a shared story or separate? Separate. Okay. So Josh, you go first. Tell us how you found Peloton.
My wife, Lindsay, is an endurance athlete. So she's been in the world championships for Ironman, and we actually just got back from the Boston Marathon last week. So that's her thing. And she, the bike part is one of those things that during, all that kind of training, you got to put in a lot of miles. But we live in Atlanta, and she just had kind of got to the point where she had one too many friends have accidents or bad crashes or so she was like, I got to get something. But she hated pretty much every stationary bike she'd ever done. But my mom, Laurie Amerson, who was on the show, I think back in the spring, she'd been telling us Peloton. And so finally, Lindsay, we signed up for one during one of their deals, and we were so lucky. We got ours end of the summer of 2019. So 6 months, right before having a Peloton was like having gold. So,
so you didn't have to wait 3 months to get yours.
Right.
That's good.
Right.
That's the new line of demarcation for when you were cool to have a Peloton. It was like
exactly. We had it pre-COVID. We were.
Before that, it was pre the Monica Ruiz commercial.
Yeah.
Or the Peloton Wife commercial. It was before that.
Right. Oh, yeah, that
so
one.
I'm the coolest.
Right.
I'm the coolest.
There you go. Yeah. it's like seeing you two at a club, at a theater, at an arena, at a stadium.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So let's see, Stacie, you tell us your story then.
So we had one at my husband's place of employment. They had one in their fitness center, and we had looked at it. I'm a fitness trainer, and so I was actually in a car accident, a pretty bad car accident, and my lower body was fine, and I didn't want to have to go to the gym to work out. So we decided, just let's order the bike, because I could get on for 10 minutes at a time or whatever and do a little bit of something. And that's what we did. And then that was probably 2018. So before I was the super cool, I guess, before the commercial, before the COVID. I will say that we do have the tread as well. And that definitely was brought on by the COVID. We turned our extra bedroom into a full gym. We have the tonal as well. And
the holy trifecta, I like to call it.
We have the trifecta and the free weight. So we have everything. During COVID, when I wasn't working, we would go running, but as you'll hear in the story later, I live in the mountains. So going for a run to be outside is not always very easy. So we decided to invest in the tread as well. And it's been fantastic. We use them both every day.
Okay.
In the mountains, are you pumping oxygen into that room?
She's probably used to it
in the room.
She's acclimated.
I think.
Are you definitely.
Are you like part Sherpa?
We're not quite that high up in the mountains, but it's definitely not an easy place to go running outside.
I bet.
Yeah.
So,
is it worse in the summer or is it worse whenever
winter
it's
for me?
Okay, I wasn't sure because here it's worse in the winter because of the humidity, the crushing humidity, even on the hills. I would rather run in the snow. I would rather run on snow and ice than run in the crushing humidity. But I didn't know if the extreme of being on a mountain and then having the difference in elevation would change that.
Yeah, the cold and the wind whipping at you. And actually, we bought the tread. I believe it was the end of September, and I was like, "It's going to be so cold soon. I'm not going to be outside running at all to do anything." So that's when we decided to get it, because the cold. And I do have like some nerve damage in my hand from the accident. So anytime my hand gets cold, it really hurts. So it just isn't an option to be out there when it's really cold outside.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. So now I remember that you guys had quite an adventure together, but before we get into that, tell everybody how you guys know each other and were on this adventure to begin with.
So back when Josh's parents built a house up here in Cashers 20 years ago, I was one of the people involved in building the house for them. So I actually knew Rick and Lori, his parents, first. And then about almost 8 years ago, I met a guy at the gym, actually, who used to come to my classes, and we started dating. And it turns out that he is Rick and Lori's nephew.
What?
Yes.
What are the chances of that?
Right. So, well, and Casher is probably pretty good if we're both in Casher.
Okay, so it's kind of small. It's a small community.
Small dating
it's
scene.
small.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he called Lori. He's like, "You're not going to believe it. I met this girl. We started dating." And she's like, "Who? Stacie." Wait, who? So, and then I got to know Josh and Lindsay and the rest of the family from that.
Wow. Wow, that is quite a route that you guys took to get to know each other.
It is.
But how did you guys end up on this hike together? So so is that something you guys do on a regular basis? Like, how did that happen?
We weren't on a hike together. The story kind of starts actually a couple days before, the day before. Our family had gone up to Cashers, my wife and our kids, just because we hadn't had a vacation in like a year. This was in June, so we hadn't really done anything like everybody else.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
Done no trips. And I work in the ministry, and so Sundays are kind of out for me. So there's no like even weekend getaways. So we had planned this trip to go up to my parents' mountain home in Cashers in June, and we got a couple of big kids, so they each brought their friends, and we brought our 2 dogs. We've got a 7-year-old pit bull named Gurley, who is really fantastic at sitting around doing absolutely nothing, and then my wife, as I mentioned, the endurance athlete, was like, I got to get a dog that can run with me, because Gurley, he's named after Todd Gurley, the football player. He is a boy, but he's good for about 50 yards of running, kind of like Todd Gurley, and then he's done. And so my wife was like, got to get an endurance dog. So she went and got a German short-haired pointer, Betsy, who at the time was about 2 years old. So we went up to Cashers just for a great getaway family weekend, that stuff we hadn't done in a while.
So take us through the day, how this all went down. This is a crazy story.
Yeah. So my folks' place, their house is such a great location. They're like the very last house before this Forest Service road begins in the Nantahala Forest. And so, you kind of wind through the mountains, and you're passing a bunch of homes. And then my folks' house is the very last one. There's a piece of property further down, but nobody's built on it. And that property is kind of became the place where we would go. That was the go-to route for, hey, I want to do a quick walk before dinner, or let's take the dogs out to let them do their thing after dinner or whatever. Because it's this really short place to get to, and it has a beautiful waterfall and a beautiful overlook. And so, so the night that we got up there, my son Luke and he's 15 years old. He and his 2 buddies wanted to get out before dinner. So we said, look, take the dogs for a walk. And then we did the thing that parents should never do to teenagers. We told them 2 things not to do.
Uh-oh.
So you can guess which the 2 things were that they went and did first. We said, do not get the dogs wet, because there's like a pool down at the bottom of the waterfall. And I was like, I just don't want to deal with wet dogs before dinner. Don't let the dogs get in the water, and don't do anything stupid.
Oh, and so they decided to be teenagers, and they knew better.
They were teenagers. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, so about 30, this whole round trip thing should take 20 or 30 minutes to walk up there and walk back. Like almost an hour has passed, and there's no kids and no dogs. And then I look down over the deck in the house, and I see them kind of like moving down through the forest towards the river. And I'm like, what are they doing? So like a very calm, cool, collected dad, I go out there and just start screaming at everybody. And
we
and
parent
Luke
the same way.
Yeah.
Like, this is
good. I'm not the only one.
No.
You have this narrative in your head, like, okay, I'm going to be really calm, going to say the right things, and then it just all unravels.
Mm-hmm.
So Luke turns around and just says, "We can't find Betsy." And so I'm thinking, okay, Betsy's a 2-year-old German short-haired pointer. She likes to chase things. She probably saw a squirrel, a bird, right? They're just trying to find her. And then one of his buddies comes up to bring Gurley inside, and you could just tell on his face that something had happened. And Gurley, our sweet older dog, is just crying and crying. And so I kind of said to Luke's buddy, I was like, "Tell me what happened." And he said, "Well, Betsy, Luke threw a ball over the waterfall, and Betsy went after it, and we can't find her." So Luke and I immediately take them back up to the waterfall to show me what happened. And so Luke he takes me down, and he explains what happened with the tennis ball. I mean, they didn't take a tennis ball. She went and found a tennis ball in the Nantahala forest somewhere.
Of course she did. That's what dogs do.
She disappeared and shows up with a ball in her mouth and is like, "You ready to play?
Let's do this."
And you can take her, to the Mojave Desert, and she will find something round for you to throw and for her to chase. And so he was like, "Dad, she gave it to me, and it was gross. It was covered in stuff, and I just kind of threw it, and I threw it the wrong direction, and she went after it." And he showed me where he had tried to go after her and had kind of saved his own life by grabbing onto a tree. He showed me where this little tree was that he had started to rip out of the ground. And so I've got all of these things swirling in my head, like terror about where's my dog. But then also just like this sense of relief and thinking my son almost went over the waterfall too. And,
trying to figure out how you can spank and hug him simultaneously.
Exactly.
You're grounded. Give me a hug.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Every day with a teenager.
Yeah.
Oh,
For
gosh,
real.
no kidding.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
So we called her name for a while, and it's hard to describe just how thick the forest is when you get off of like the trail. It's almost, it's impassable. You can't even see more than like 10 feet in front of you. And so, and it started to get dark, and we went home, and, my wife had gone a different direction. Everybody by that point was searching and calling for Betsy, and it got dark, and I think it just started to settle in with us that she didn't survive, that we would have heard a noise, we would have heard a bark. And so that night we were in a really down, dark place, I think, as a family that night. We kind of came together, my immediate family, we came together that night, sat in the bed. This was probably about midnight. It's just trying to even to think about going to sleep was impossible, because it's like having one of your kids out. That's what was so frustrating, is we knew exactly where she was, and we just couldn't get to her, and that was so frustrating and devastating. And then just thinking about the dark and being alone and all of that sets in. But we sat together on the bed and had a prayer and just said, God's going to bring something good out of this, and we have to keep hope. And that's how our night ended. But that night we woke up really early. We didn't sleep very well, but woke up early the next morning, and I woke Lindsay up, and we were talking, and I said, I had a dream. I had a dream that it was so weird. We were in the mountains, but different mountains, and there was a lake, and Betsy was gone. Betsy was missing. And I went out early that morning, and I found her in the lake, and I was like, I had a dream that we found Betsy. And
was she okay in the dream?
Yeah, in the dream she was. She was definitely lost and wasn't where she was supposed to be, but brought her home, and so I guess it sparked like a little bit of like, okay, let's not give up quite yet. We had called a veterinarian friend the night before who really kind of laid it out for us and said she either didn't survive the fall, or she drowned after the fall, or a predator found her at night. And so he was very much like, please don't go looking for her, because you'll get hurt. But we started making phone calls the next morning. We called fire services, we called the forestry service, we called search and rescue, animal control. Everybody we called had the same report. It was, she probably didn't survive, and it's not wise for you guys to go looking for her, because then you become someone we have to go find when you fall over the waterfall. So we couldn't get help from anybody. we had gone and done a search on the other side of the river, thinking maybe she had, been carried by the current somewhere and we could find her, and just nothing.
And we should say before we go any further, anybody at home, don't try this at home. Like what you're about to hear, do not try at home. Right. So Stacie, you show up with your chainsaw.
Like the lead singer of Jackal.
Yeah.
So I had gone home. I had been at work that morning. I went home and changed into my hiking gear. Got a backpack. Got a couple sheets in case we found Betsy not alive, so we could at least bring her back out. Some rope and a borrowed mini chainsaw that a friend of mine had.
I think my favorite, just kind of it's 2021 kind of part of the story is Stacie didn't offer me the chainsaw, the man, and I was not going to ask for it. So she plows ahead. And
okay, but hold on. But let's point out that you're you're the minister that lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and I've lived in the mountains for 23 years.
Right. Yeah.
I think she just
Stacie
said you're a city boy. I got this.
Yeah. Stacie goes, here's some rope and a first aid kit. You carry these, and I've got the chainsaw.
She's like, here's my purse.
Follow me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And my husband was so excited that I was doing this as well, because he wasn't even talking to me at this point. He was just like, okay, whatever. Bye.
Right. Yeah. And that's the stuff I'm already starting to think of, is I can't tell my cousin, his wife broke her leg trying to look for my dog. But she, her whole motto, Stacie, your whole motto that whole day was amazing. It was just we're going to take the next step. And if we get to something that's too big, we'll turn around, but we're not going to stop now, because we can do the next step. And so that was really there must have been 5 or 6 times during this whole rescue operation that Stacie was like, okay, all right. Yeah, I know, but we're going to take the next step and then just see what happens and see where we are. And so we started this descent, and Stacie's hacking away and I'm huffing and puffing behind her. And I think the first time physical fitness kind of came into it, I told Stacie, I was like, thank God for Peloton and yoga, because otherwise we're bending through branches and doing the limbo. And it was, I'm so glad
on the hunt for your downward dog.
Yeah. A lot of downward dog. That's a good one there. Stacie, what was that like for you going down the hill towards the river?
I mean, it was hard because we were, trying to cut as little as possible on the way down. We didn't want to, destroy anything that we didn't have to. But I mean, like Josh said, it's hard to explain how it's thicket, basically, is what it's called. It's because everything is just grown together. There's no way, no path. We had to make a path and kind of had to zigzag because it was too steep to just walk down. You had to zigzag one way or the other. There was trees we climbed over, across, under, around.
But I'm sure it felt like miles, because
it felt forever.
Yeah.
It felt forever.
I mean,
and at this point, we're just trying to get down so we can go across and then try to go up. I mean, this is just we're not looking for Betsy at this point. We're just trying to get down to where we can start looking for Betsy.
Oh gosh.
Right. Yeah. And I think we got down to the river, and we had our cell phones, and there was no signal, and we had a walkie-talkie that
somebody broke wasn't working.
I broke probably, because it was the one job I had was to keep the walkie-talkie safe. And
did you drop it?
I probably, I did. I didn't tell her, but the very first step, I smashed it, and oh. So we have no way to which was probably good. I think if we had called people, they would have talked me out of it for sure. But we got down to the river and found a way across. And then that brought us to the bottom of the waterfall, which really ended up kind of being this, I don't know, Stacie, how do you like a 5-tier waterfall, almost kind of going from the top where she fell down to the river.
Right. So first we found where the bottom of the waterfall, the stream was coming in and meeting the river. And so we kind of had to hike up the stream a little bit first to get to the bottom of the waterfall.
I don't know if you remember, Stacie, I guess we were 2 or 3 tiers up, and we found the tennis ball.
The ball. The ball.
What?
So you're going the right direction at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so we got up, I think about as high, really, I think we finally hit the point where even Stacie said, okay, I think we're done. And it was this kind of rock face part going up to the next tier, and we didn't have any rock climbing equipment. I mean,
chainsaws don't work on that.
Yeah.
Nor know how to rock climb.
Yeah. And so I think, Stacie, if I don't know, remind me if I'm wrong, but I think we kind of both said, all right, I think we've done everything we can do.
And all of a sudden I saw a little wag of the tail. And I'm like, Josh. and
she had to call me back because I had run. I thought it was a bear. So I had to come back
My
up
hero.
to where she was. Yeah.
You're going to beat that bear away with your purse.
He was clearing the way for you, Stacie. He was just making sure that you could get back through.
Right.
Yes. So she points out what she sees, this little white thing moving behind the trees. And I called Betsy's name, and it was like out of a movie. She just like steps out from behind the branches and you see her little face appear. And I mean, I got emotional. I started to cry. I was so excited. I couldn't believe she was alive. I just could not believe she was alive. And so I started kind of like what Stacie was doing earlier. I started looking off to the side thinking, okay, we can hack our way through and figure out a way up. And I'm trying to like look for the best route. And then I turned back around and Stacie's already halfway up the rock climbing to get up there. And she's just like, just push me up the rest of the way. Just push me. And so I put the purse down and then pushed
I was like, where's the chainsaw at this point?
Yeah.
Are you like wearing it?
We set the chainsaw down. We didn't want to harm the chainsaw.
Okay,
We set it down. I took off my backpack and it set down the chainsaw. So it's just me. Just kind of.
I'm like picturing you like, grabbing a hold of the rock one-handed and just like
wearing the chainsaw like a backpack.
Exactly.
I wish that'd be cool, like a little chain.
Yeah. If they ever make a movie version of it, they gotta leave the chainsaw on. You just like sling it over your back and grab up there one-handed.
I'll tell them that.
Okay.
So I don't even know what it was like up there. Stacie was the only one.
So you got me, my feet and your hands and kind of like.
Yeah.
Toss me up the rest of the way.
Let's say it was your feet. Yeah.
Let's reiterate to people out there: never do this.
Yeah.
Do not try this at
bad.
home.
This is do not. So I got up there, and it wasn't a very big area. It was just a boulder part of the waterfall with thicket all around. So there was no way to walk out of that area either. And Betsy was just standing there looking at me, just happy as could be. I could tell, she definitely was not moving great. She was, she wasn't moving around a lot at all. It was a very small area. So she had to have fallen and there was no place for her to go from that point. So I got her and pulled her into my lap. And she weighs like 50 pounds, I think.
Like 450 pounds. Yeah.
400. Yeah. So I get her in my lap and I kind of scoot over where I can see Josh and, we're both crying and I can't believe she's alive. And then I'm looking down going, okay, what now?
Yeah.
Right.
That was my thought. I'm like, what now?
What are you going to do?
Now you're both stuck up there.
Right. This was the part that it was like, oh my gosh, how are we getting through this?
Okay.
And getting Betsy back out.
So
yeah.
So what happened?
So for all of my self-effacing jokes about being a wimp, this whole journey, Stacie kind of made eye contact with me and said, I'm going to slide down and you have to catch me or something bad is going to happen. But she was kind of like, this is the only option we have. Is I'm basically going to just slide off of this part of the waterfall and you have to catch me.
Holding the dog?
And holding the dog.
Oh my God.
So it wasn't even like she could reach out and grab. It was like, I'm
a huge person. It's fine. I got big.
Good thing you have that tonal.
I know.
Yeah.
Right. Lift the weights.
But it was at this point and I don't know if I'm sure y'all have had similar experiences. where
It was like saving a dog from a waterfall. No,
Can't say that I have.
No, maybe not. But so all the way along, I kept doubting, like, this is a bad idea. We're gonna twist an ankle. We're gonna break a leg. Like, something's gonna happen, or we're not strong enough to climb all that. And then we get to, honestly, what I feel like was the hardest part and the scariest part. And I had no doubts. I looked at Stacie, and I just knew, like, I found a place for my feet, and I knew. I was like, Stacie, I've got you. Trust me. Just fall and I will catch you. and I don't know.
This is one heck of a trust fall, guys.
All those times at summer
The
camp.
ultimate game of trust.
Yeah. All those times at summer camp where I was like, I'll never use this.
So she like scoots off and falls, and I catch her feet, and then we just kind of catch her and bring her down, and it was like this huge moment of relief. And then once that passed, you realize, okay, how are we going to get out
now
of
you
here?
Now you got to go back.
Right.
You got to go all the way back.
Carrying a 50-pound dog that can't walk.
This isn't like a trail that you guys have climbed. This is like you're hopping
The
from rock to rock.
It's like a cascading waterfall.
Oh my God.
Like
It's
in
a
an
cascading
action movie.
waterfall.
Yeah.
And we're going from one stepping ledge to the other that we can find on the waterfall to make our way up.
Yeah.
Oh no.
So now we have to come down those ledges
with the dog.
So we made our way down, I guess, just kind of slowly passing her back and forth and changing places and
sliding
taking
into
lots of
each other.
breaks. Yeah.
One of you would break, the other fall.
Down. One person would slide down, get a hold,
Right.
get set, and then the other person with Betsy would slide down, get stopped, and then we'd pass her, and then kept switching all. And that's how we did it the whole way out.
Yeah.
Was one person would go a little bit, pass her off, go a little bit more. But yeah, so when we get at the bottom of the waterfall, this is where we should have stuck with our original path, the one we came in that we knew. We thought we could cut over to the river faster. And I'm walking and Josh is carrying Betsy, and I take a step and I go all the way down to my chest.
What?
Covered in the water, thicket, it's ground totally gone. And I remember going, Josh, don't. And I hear a crash.
Oh,
and
no.
he's laying behind me with Betsy on his chest. And we're laying there going, okay, this was not good. So we slowly start making our way down the stream, because it's not easy, especially, carrying the dog. I can tell you, I did not sit down without severe pain for about 2-3 weeks after this ordeal, because so we would slide with Betsy and then pass her, and then the next person would climb over, and that's how we kind of went down the stream the whole way. I remember one time we both just kind of like, okay, we got to take a break.
Yeah.
And we just kind of sat there and we're like, and I think that's when you even said out loud, thank goodness for Peloton.
Yeah.
And it was because I don't know if without endurance, I know without endurance, we couldn't have done that. What we were doing.
Absolutely.
And we still had a long way to go. And we're sliding up, because we can't really walk with Betsy because it's too thick. So we're sliding up, passing the dog, cutting a little bit, passing, slicing.
Oh my word.
And I had this moment, and I don't know that I shared it with Stacie. I told my wife about it later, but I had this moment where I felt like I was done, and I'd been carrying her, and I was lying on the ground of the forest, and she was lying on my chest. And I thought I was about to tell Stacie, like, go get someone, and I'll just stay here with Betsy. And I'm lying there on the forest, and Robin appears in my head, as I've seen her so many times on the bike do. And she just looks straight at me and she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. Does it hurt?" And I was like, yeah, it hurts. And she goes, "Yeah, it's supposed to. So just get up and keep moving," which is like exactly how she has dragged me through so many different rides of like, yeah, it's supposed to hurt. Like, that's your body growing. That's your body changing. That is something good you're doing. And it's not supposed to be easy. And honestly, I mean, that just kind of changing that voice in your head is kind of what got me back up and moving again. And I think at that point, Stacie, I was just like, I'm just getting up to the road. Don't worry about cutting a path. I just started kind of just running, because I was like, I just got to get to the finish line of this thing.
Well, we broke the chainsaw. I broke the chainsaw.
Oh yeah, that's right.
zipping along and I got a branch stuck in it. And I mean, I borrowed a chainsaw. I've used chainsaws. I don't know how to fix a chainsaw. And I'm not going to stick my hand in there and try to get something out of moving pieces. It's just, I want to keep on my fingers.
Yes.
Good call.
And so by this point, Lindsay, my wife, had been trying to reach us on the walkie-talkies, that I was like, don't worry, I've got the walkie-talkie, hon. You'll be able to. And so for like an hour, she has not been able to reach us. And so I know she starts thinking something's happened to Stacie and Josh. And so she tells my dad to get in another car and go look for them. And so we'd walked about 100 yards up the road when I saw my dad coming towards us.
Just walking so nonchalantly.
Oh my God!
Rolling along. Like
he had a scotch in one hand, and he was
in vacation mode.
Smiling.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
I know exactly what stroll you're talking about.
It's the one I did.
It is the one you do.
So he sees us, and he's got a different. I don't know if he had a different pair of walkie-talkies or if he called up to the house, but I could hear him say to someone, "I found them, and they have Betsy," and then I could hear the response through the phone of screaming. And, he said, yes, she's alive. And so we, Stacie and me and Dad and Betsy rushed back to his car and started driving. At this point, it was just kind of figuring out what do we need to do now? How do we find a vet? Cause it's by this point, again, it's late in the evening or late afternoon. And so we get Lindsay in the car. My dad goes back to the house. I get in the car to drive. Lindsay's holding Betsy, and Stacie is like, follow me. We're going to go find a vet. But we called Stacie. We called the cashier's vet, and they were about to close. And we called
Highlands. We called the Highlands. They were about to close.
Yeah.
The vet at Cashers isn't really equipped to do anything like that.
Yeah.
We tried to call the emergency hospital. I think Thomas, my husband, he was making phone calls as well at this point. He called Greenville, and they told us not to come. They couldn't take her. That was when we were kind of driving around in circles, it felt like. And then we found a vet in Hendersonville, North Carolina, with emergency vet service, which is about an hour.
Oh my God.
hour and 15 minutes away, maybe. Hour and 15. Yeah. That said, bring her. We can take her. And so I started to, and it's at this point, it's pouring down rain.
Of course it is.
Monsoon.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Right?
At least you're not still in the waterfall.
That's true.
That's true. But we're soaking wet. I mean, I'm like picking leaves off my neck, and I mean, we're disgusting. And so, it's pouring down rain. It's all two lane roads up here, small little roads, and get them to, we get all the way through Brevard, and I get them on the road to Hendersonville. And by this point, I think Lindsay had pulled up the directions for the vet and found it. And so I turned back and came home, and they continued on with Betsy.
Which was good, because I think somebody had to go to the bathroom for like 3 hours and had just.
Oh my God, I was. Yes. and I couldn't stop anywhere, because I was like, I'm looking at myself, and like I said, I'm picking leaves off as I'm like driving along. I've got sticks attached to me, and I'm like, I can't pull in anywhere and go to the bathroom. So I drove all the way back. I called my husband at work. He works at a club here in Cashers, and I said, is anybody at the office? Because it was right after 5 o'clock. And he said, no, everyone's pretty much left. And I said, okay, I've got to go to the bathroom. I can't wait. So I'm like driving to where he works, and I pull in and I get out, and I step out of the car, and I'm so sore I can barely move. And there's a gentleman walks by me, and he looks at me, and I have no idea who he was. To this day, I don't know who he is. And he looks at me, he said, have you been hiking? And I said, yeah, kind of. He goes, I don't think you should do that again. And he just kept walking. I had no idea who he was.
Well, wait. So you got to the vet, and were they able to take her right then, and everything was good?
Yeah, and this is when, I think one of the most beautiful parts of the story started. My wife is on social media, and she had posted everything that was going on, and and people had been responding kind of from all over, like German short-haired pointer clubs were like, we're going to send people to look for her and arrest. I mean, like all these people started to respond, and we were sitting there and we got a knock on the door, which I assumed it would be the vet coming in to talk to us. And we opened the door and it was this young woman who neither Lindsay and I had ever met before. And she just said, I'm Morgan. My name is Morgan. And I've been talking to you on Instagram. And I just drove all the way from, I don't even remember where she lived, 2 hours away. She's like, I saw where you guys were headed. I knew you were coming here. I just want to let you know, I've been praying for y'all. We've already set up an account at the front desk to help pay for all the bills. I mean, it was just like, yeah, to see this community start to form was incredible. And so she sat with us while we got bad news from the vet that, he said everything inside is bruised. Like all the organs are bruised. The lungs are filled. It looks like they were filled with water and infiltrate, and the leg is broken. And, he kind of, what we were left with is probably not going to make it through the night, but we'll do our best. By the time we got to the house, an hour and a half later, the vet called and he said, I don't know what is happening, but she is up and looking around at people and trying to get off the table and wants to move. And he's like, honestly, when you brought her in, I thought she was going to die, like right there. And he said, she's looking like she's got some energy and wants to get through the night. So we'll see. And that's kind of how the story just kept going. It was every day. It was just kind of, something miraculous happened. We don't know why she's looking as good as she's doing, but we ended up just 2 days later getting to go pick her up and take her home.
Oh my God.
Wow. And I guess a little bit of the redemption story is my son, Luke, got to be the one to hold her while Lindsay drove them all the way back to Atlanta from Hendersonville. And from that point on, again, it was just this community of people surrounding us, helping us. I mean, those times you go to the vet and you see the pet insurance flyer and you're like, that's a stupid thing. Who would ever buy pet insurance?
Turns out
it might be worth the $7 a month, folks. Because our bills were just insane.
And you can get that pet insurance with promo code The Clip Out. This has all just been one long commercial for pet insurance.
That's
Surprise! Right. We got you.
It was everything we were told that wasn't going to happen with her happened. Like we were told she wasn't going to make it. She made it. We were told they were going to have to probably amputate the leg. They were able to save the leg. And she was doing, before the Boston Marathon for my wife, Betsy was out there doing 8, 9, 10 mile runs with Lindsay, getting her ready to go. It's been an amazing journey. Betsy and I were not the best of friends before this. I found her to be way too energetic and annoying, but, we're like inseparable now. You
have bonded.
We have bonded. Yeah. Just like, Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock, you need like a catastrophic event to bring you together. And it's been amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that is awesome. I'm really glad that had a happy ending.
Me too.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad Betsy is okay.
Yes, I don't know that anyone should. It's like I'm torn because I'm like, I also don't know that you should have done all that. But I'm glad that it worked out well.
That's why I started with don't do this at home.
Yeah. But I'm really glad that
you were able to.
Yes.
I'm glad that you were able to take those steps and get through that. And I mean, it really does speak to how these instructors get inside our head in ways that we don't anticipate, and that they're kind of, it might just be in that moment in a class, you think you're never going to think about that again. And then look at that. It got you through one of the most difficult moments of your life.
Not just the motivation, but your actual physical fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what is your guys' leaderboard's name if people want to find you?
I am riding and wine. My two favorite passions.
I love it.
Yeah. And I am Pelobi Wan Kenobi with a 1 instead of the L. Someone just as clever had already grabbed it with the L. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, for anybody not watching the YouTube, I have to point out that your shirt is very appropriate. It says "Best Dog Dad Ever."
Yeah, I bought this for myself. No, my wife got this for me as a thank you gift.
Yeah, I bet. I bet you saved her running buddy. And I'm really glad too that you were able to save Betsy for Betsy, but I'm glad that you were able to save Betsy for your son.
For Luke.
Yeah, because we had a bad moment in our house with a dog and it did not have such a happy ending, but like it really sticks with you. You know, you feel guilty even if it's not something that you could have anticipated or done anything about, you know, the survivor guilt that goes with that. So I'm so glad that your son doesn't have to live with that, you know, that it's like it had a happy ending and he gets to learn the lesson but not have to take the pain with it. So that's nice.
And that's why I was like, one way or the other, we have to bring Betsy home. We have to, for him and for everybody in the family.
I totally
that would be,
get that.
I can't imagine. There's so many waterfalls and things around here that you see all the time. You know, people put monuments at the top, you know, where their dog has gone over. And I, you know, my husband and I are always telling people on trails, please put your dog on a leash, because all it takes is, you know, very quick little misstep for something to happen.
Well, I'm glad that it had a successful ending.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So. Where can people find you on social media if they want to reach out?
I'm on Facebook, but I don't even know what I guess just Stacie Platt.
Okay.
Yeah, I am not on social media, but you can. My wife is much more interesting, and she can be found on Instagram at Lindsay Amerson, and LA Endurance is her kind of athletic endurance company that she runs to train people and do stuff like that. So if you look for Lindsay Amerson and LA Endurance, you will find the best part of my duo for sure.
Awesome.
Aww.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us and sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Clip out.
So I guess that brings this episode to a close. Until next time, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on Twitter and Instagram, the bike, and of course the tread at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. Find the show online, facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our newsletter at theclipout.com. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling
and running.